Hello everyone, and welcome to this session of ISS EDTalks. Our guest today is Dr. Ann Karriker. She is the Executive Director of Elementary Education for the Iredell Statesville Schools. And we invited Dr. Karriker to come by today to talk about Read to Achieve, which is a huge initiative that our General Assembly put in play about 3 years ago. It impacts all of the children in third grade across our district. So interesting topic for today and a interesting guest. Dr. Karriker, thanks for being here. And let's start off by letting folks know a little bit about you personally and your background in education. And you've been in this business quite a few years and had a lot of interesting jobs along the way.
I have. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And it's a pleasure to be here to talk about Read to Achieve and reading in general today to our parents. I started my career late. I sort of came in the back door in education. Started my career after my family was started, and I started down in the southeastern part of the state as a teacher of reading. And then I taught first, second, and third grade, and at that time we didn't have the resources we do now with reading. So I learned early on how to generate what I needed to meet my students' needs, and enjoyed years of teaching children to read before I moved over into administration. And I had the joy of working in Brunswick County, and then we relocated, and I worked in the northeastern part of the state in admin, and finally came home to Rowan and Iredell County several years ago. Reading is one of the most complicated, yet one of the most simple arts that a child learns, and it is the one skill that we are committed to in elementary education that all children need to be as proficient as they can. So I've dedicated my life's work with my public being to helping children be as successful reading as they can, and to support the parents and our staff members in our schools to do that as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know reading is a top priority for the General Assembly as well, and that's why they implemented this new law called Read to Achieve. And it is a very ambitious goal to have every child reading on grade level at the end of third grade. And I think all of us in education understand. I remember old teachers telling me when I was a child, you have to learn to read so you can read to learn. And it's almost like third grade is that tipping point where everything concentrates on reading up to third grade, but then when you leave third grade, boy, you've got to expand that knowledge and be a good reader, a proficient reader. So it is a very ambitious and a worthwhile goal. I wonder if you could describe to us, beginning in kindergarten, how do you teach a child to read?
As I said, that is a process that's been trying to be untangled for many years that seems so simple to some of our children. Actually, what parents can do, starting in kindergarten, is first of all be a reader themselves and let their children see them reading, if it's the newspaper or the grocery ads. As they children watch them read, if parents would start talking to them as well about what they're doing, and just show them pictures and understanding. In kindergarten, children are learning about the world around them, and they're learning to make sense of what printed word is. Parents also can help with children reading to them daily. If sometime during the day they could spend just a few minutes reading to their child and talking to them about what they're reading, and even watching television, if they could talk about what happened in that cartoon or that show and let the child talk back to them, they begin to understand that things have meanings and things have a beginning and a middle and an end. As they move up into first grade, the expectations are higher in our education system, where we begin to make sense of letters and words and how the language is formed. But again, those parents being the child's first teacher, if they just continued that support of reading with their children, it's usually at this stage that kids begin to identify books they really like. And a tip that I really want to emphasize with parents is find those books that children really like and read them over and over again until you as the parent have them memorized as well. In second grade and third grade, we begin to fine-tune the reading process with children, and we begin to identify if there are any restrictions or gaps that are keeping them from reading. And that's where the Read to Achieve came in with our state legislatures. Early childhood educators have for years recognized the importance and the validity of children learning to read competently in first and second grade. So you're exactly right, Mr. Johnson. By third grade, they need to be proficient readers. But we also knew there were all kinds of interferences there. And we are delighted that our state recognized there are barriers there and have moved to help us erase those barriers. We started with, first the state needed to know what the status of reading was. And so they instituted in all the schools in our state what is called in-class reading 3D. And that's a measurement system that all of our K-3 teachers were trained in how to measure the reading acuity of children. So once the state got that data in place, they realized that our schools needed more support and that our teachers, who always wanted this to occur, needed support, and so they instituted the Read to Achieve. What that program does is it gives validity to our desire that children learn to read in third grade. We start off by the way we measure that is through what we call the portfolio process. And that's where students read selections in their normal setting in their classroom, and it determines if they are understanding and comprehending what that message is. We have always in Iredell Statesville put first our children's learning. And in any of our programs, we have wanted to make sure our children had the skills that they need to learn to read. When a child faces difficulty in the classroom setting with the reading process and may not be able to complete that portfolio, but just need more time, the state recognized that as well. And so they entitled us to have summer reading programs, and we call them summer reading camp. And the reading camp programs are focused on children who need more time to work on that portfolio. Now we've included another measure to achieve success with our children. This will be our third summer coming up to have reading camp for our third grade children this year, as well as the state has now mandated that we include first and second grade students. And so we will offer to those children who have not been successful according to data the opportunity to attend a reading camp with us.
Tell me just a little bit, Mary Ann, about the testing process that children go through. I know that testing can be very stressful to children and to parents as well. What are we doing to help alleviate that stress and help kids be successful on that during that testing process?
Mm-hmm. You're exactly right. When you look at our K-3 classrooms, we are doing a lot of assessing of children. And the reason we're doing that is trying to identify those gaps in those areas. How we've supported that so it is not overwhelming to both our students and our teachers are by several avenues. One, we use our instructional facilitators to be very well trained on the platforms or the technical equipment that teachers must use to do this, and that's mandated by the state. So we wanted to erase any restrictions that a teacher may feel or uneasiness that a teacher may feel in using an iPad or a tablet in testing. Those instructional facilitators are also very well versed in what the state expects for us to do with those children, and they can guide right on the school site and help the teachers so the implementation is as smooth as we can make that. We also have parent nights where we invite our parents to come so that we can talk with them and have them to see the test and what they are. And we actually, in some of our schools, let the parents participate and actually take the reading test.
Well, that's excellent.
Mm-hmm. We really recognize that in these early grades, we are doing a lot of assessment. And so we have also worked with our principals and our assistant principals on how to make those tests very organic and very low-key and very natural to children and teachers as well. So we can identify the gaps to help the children, but it does not interrupt that normal classroom flow of instruction. We've been very diligent with that.
Mm-hmm. If a student has not been successful at the end of third grade, and they elect to come to the summer camp, mm-hmm. and even at the end of summer camp, they still aren't proficient, mm-hmm. what's the next step mm-hmm. for that child?
The state has provided an avenue in some of our principals to take care of that child as well, and they matriculate in our district into what's called a 3-4 transition classroom. Mm-hmm. And that's with a fourth grade teacher. It's on the fourth grade hall or in the fourth grade wing. Usually we move a cluster of children in there together that have the same needs that were not, whatever the reason being, not yet successful. And that fourth grade teacher just continues the process with the child. There's no break in instruction, there's no slowdown. And so the child's exposed to fourth grade curriculum, which he or she will need, but meanwhile we're closing those gaps. And we work with that portfolio as long as we need to get that child proficient. We've also added, the state has granted us, and all districts in North Carolina, another assessment piece through their reading, their in-class reading, that a child can be proficient. So either of those means we keep working with those children. We do not break instruction so that they're ready for the end of grade test.
Very good. Well, it is a very worthy goal in our state, and I am very proud that North Carolina has made reading such a priority for all of our students. I think we're doing a great job of closing that gap. This is the third year now of implementation, and I've certainly seen tremendous improvements during that 3 years. But we won't rest on our laurels. We'll continue to make adjustments and improvements and try to stay focused on our children. And I want parents to know too that if they do have questions about this, that they can contact their principal, the guidance counselor, the instructional facilitator. If parents would like to have a meeting, we can certainly set that up. That's already happening. But if they would like to have a meeting to talk about nothing but reading, we can certainly arrange that. And just make sure that our teachers and our principals know that we do appreciate what they do and that this is a very, very worthy goal in our state. And for those of you that are watching, again, check out our website. We do have information about reading on there and resources and tips for parents. And again, if you want more information about Read to Achieve, please feel free to contact Dr. Karriker. We want all of our community to be our partner in this great initiative that's taking place across the state of North Carolina. And we are taking seriously the goal of having every child reading on grade level by the end of third grade. Thank you for watching today, and we hope that you'll tune in again for other episodes.